All right. Good morning, Atlanta.
Good morning.
So we're here today in the cradle of the civil rights movement, a city that showed this country what happens when local leaders and institutions organize around something bigger than themselves. And I am proud to be on stage today with two people whose work I deeply respect. Jennifer, who leads Points of Light and has a goal to double volunteering in this country, and Erin, who leads the Home Depot Foundation, which has invested more than $650 million in veterans' causes.
Amazing.
Now let's delve in.
Great.
Erin, starting with you, what is starting local that makes national impact possible?
Well, Home Depot is a national brand, and you don't know us because of our headquarters here in Atlanta. You know us because of your local store. So at a national level, we have three focus areas that we are very good at. Veterans housing, which you mentioned. We have a commitment to $750 million in that space. Construction skilled trades training, so we're working to get more people in to fill the skilled labor gap. And then finally, disaster resilience. And so across those three, we've given over $1 billion since we started working on this. So it's thanks, yeah. So we do that through, most of our grants are with our national nonprofit partners. We have 26 of them. Some of them are here today. World Central Kitchen, Team Rubicon, HBI, a number of our partners are here. And so we have a national strategy with our nonprofit partners. But then we localize it. And so at every store, there's a community captain that does local Team Depot projects. So if you've seen the orange shirts in your community doing good work, those are our Team Depot volunteers, that the 450,000 associates that do 2,300 projects a year. So at the top level, we have this strategy, and then we localize it to our stores so that it connects to individual communities. And so those projects can be as small as a disaster cleanup or as large as 300 people, a couple of districts coming together to help with veterans housing. But that way we are making the most sense for the people that are near our communities. And so what I tell our team is do for one what you wish you could do for all, and then do it again and again and again, and then you have national impact.
It's excellent. Jennifer, how do you think about this?
Well, just to start, Kenrick, so good to be here. I want to say I am very excited to be here to open this summit with talking about the human capital that drives the social sector. I think it's an amazing way to start. We just saw some of the most promising young people. I mean, what a great way to start. So at Points of Light, we are the largest organization dedicated to volunteering. And as Kenrick said, we're working on a national volunteer strategy that's designed to double the number of people volunteering. So companies like Home Depot, et cetera, will be a huge part of that, we know. But for us, to me, opening this conference this way, it really, Z talked about meeting the moment, and we are in an urgent time, and we know we need to deepen connection, we need to meet really urgent needs in our communities, and that today more than half of people under 30 in our country don't feel connected to their neighbor. More than half don't feel a connection to their neighbor. So we look at, through our global network, which is a network of local, which you know about, you used to be a New York Cares, through that network of local volunteer action centers, that's how at Points of Light we see the unique needs of local communities and how bringing people, human capital to those needs can help us meet those moments both locally as individuals, build their well-being through volunteering as our community needs get met, and together, when we put that together, the collective of changing our society through volunteering. So we know those hyper-local relationships with real organizations in communities matter. That's exactly what Erin talked about.
You're spot on, and connection is everything when it comes to volunteerism. Actually, when I started at PayPal, only 13% of employees participated in community impact activities. So I decided to change the ask. We started matching employees with volunteer opportunities that were aligned to their skills and the needs of their community. We rooted it in purpose. Entrepreneurship became that purpose. Every experience was local, and we measured our collective impact. That shift is one of the reasons that we were able to go from a moment to a movement and increase participation for our employees' involvement in community impact activities to 83%. Many organizations in the room are trying to figure out how to scale volunteerism. So back over to you, Jennifer. How do you scale volunteer engagement nationally? I know that doubling volunteerism is a huge goal, and so how do you scale it in a way that will connect people and communities?
Well, I would say to begin, how do we scale? We make volunteering, service, helping each other a national priority. And we can start by realizing that that isn't free, that volunteering isn't free. It's not just, people don't just show up at your events, and there's a lot of energy and detail. Everyone here knows that. But we don't always talk about it or recognize it, or we seem to feel worried about it. It is real. It's awesome, but it does take investment. And we did some research at Points of Light about a year ago, kind of looking at how do we raise the market cap of investment in this part of the social impact sector. And we noted that the amount of investment in the infrastructure that it takes to have great volunteer experiences, meaning having strong volunteer centers, having the technology that we need at the local level. I mean, it might be at the national, but having it at the local, that is a significant, there's a small part of the investment of like the nation's foundations. It's like 0.07% is going into that infrastructure. We do invest in technology, in marketing, in a lot of the other, capital needs of the nonprofits, but thinking about that human capital infrastructure the same way is one of the things we'll be prioritizing in the National Volunteer Strategy that Points of Light is leading with a broad coalition.
Human capital is critical. Erin, how do you think about that?
Well, I mentioned how Team Depot has a national strategy, and we do, but we also leave room for the local stores to connect. So if there's a Little League field or a park or a school that needs support, the local stores can choose to engage in that, and we still support. So we have a 70-30 rule. We want about 70% of our projects to be in our big 3 pillars, but leave the room for the 30% so that the local stores can do what they need for their communities. And that also ensures the human capital side, the associates, are engaged as well because they've helped choose what they're getting involved in, they're passionate about it, it's something that's in their backyard. So that's how we balance the national impact with the local impact as well.
That's so important because when I look at local impact, the local context really matters in applying that local context in a way that's relevant to the local community. And so we all know scale takes work, but staying locally relevant as you grow is a whole nother challenge. Erin, how do you make sure that programs reflect what communities are working for?
Yeah, so we make sure to listen to those that are closest to the need, and we do that on a national scale, but also with the local Team Depot. All the stores have these partnerships, so we provide that autonomy to our stores. But then with our vetted partners, every Team Depot project we do is through a nonprofit. The grants that we give are to the local nonprofit. Every single one of those is vetted. There's over 21,000 of them that we've worked with to date. And so we vet every project and vet the local needs, but they're the ones who know what their communities need the most. And I'll give disaster as an example. So with disaster response, we do a lot of prep work, making sure that we have the right goods where they need to be in our distribution center and in our nonprofit distribution center so that we can respond quickly. That's all local. Then you have response. When a storm hits, our stores are the first ones to know what's going on. Often our associates and who's calling into our associate assistance program tells us how bad the storm is because we're there in the stores before the media gets there and often before officials even get there. And so our stores work real time with first responders and local officials to make sure we're doing the right things that we need in that community immediately. And then long-term recovery, we stay long past when the media fades. We work with nonprofits to rebuild. A recent example in Pensacola, Hurricane Sally went through in 2020. The Habitat affiliate there has been rebuilding ever since, and we just gave the final grant for them to finish rebuilding over 20 homes in that area. And so all of that is, national for scale and consistency, but the local folks are who knows what the needs are and how we should go about doing it.
Jennifer, how do you think about that?
Sure, this is such a great example how Home Depot does this. What we find at Points of Light is having a place-based network in 75 cities and 120 of our affiliate organizations in 75 cities in 30 countries around the world. When you don't have stores, like Home Depot is really blessed to have that footprint. If you don't have that, there is a network of volunteer action centers that can play the role, help connect to those local nonprofits. Each volunteer action center will have about 200 to 300. I don't know how many you had in New York, but 200 or so nonprofits that you work with and know those local needs. And we support through that about 1 million. That network, about 1 million of those volunteer managers. We have about 1.5 million nonprofits in the US, and each one of those on average is going to have a volunteer manager. And so we provide at Points of Light the tools, the resources for them to be best in class. And through them, we make that local connection, both the volunteer manager and that volunteer action center. I was just here in Atlanta with Home Depot, UPS, and Delta recently with our Hands on Atlanta affiliate doing a service shakeout, we called it. And it's a great example of kind of going the other way, Erin, from the way you all have that built in from your structure. We kind of went from the other direction, which is starting with the local organization. It was called Westside Works. I don't know if anyone from Westside is here. And our Hands on Atlanta affiliate knew enough and knew them really well and said, I've got these companies, what is it that you need? What's the top priority? So instead of us kind of creating a kit to nowhere, we went to them and said, what do you need? And they said, we have this great program in construction where people learn, they're getting into the trade, and they have to have a starter kit with gloves and a measuring tape and tools, a belt. And we said, great, let's make those kits. Let's do what you need. And so Westside Works, they saved the money. They didn't have to, they can deploy that in other ways, be able to recruit more people. It's a great example of another way to do exactly what Erin was talking about listening to the community and applying that locally. And that can only happen when you have those local connections.
You're spot on. When I think of partnerships, it starts with the community need. In my hometown of New York City, nearly 150,000 students experience homelessness. Families are struggling to cover rent, food, basic necessities, and every September, another burden comes, and that's school supplies. This is not a problem that one organization can handle alone. I was proud to partner with New York Cares, an organization that I'm an alum of, and that's also a Points of Light affiliate, on their Stand With Students initiative. We didn't just write a check. We sat down together and designed how we're going to make a difference. We brought everyone to the table, community organizations, corporations, volunteers, and schools. Together, we served tens of thousands of students in the city with school supplies and year-round academic support. That's what partnership looks like. It's not a logo on a banner. It's showing up and doing the work together. Jennifer, from your perspective, what makes cross-sector partnerships work and what makes them last?
Well, these are critical. I think I love being up here with Home Depot because you're the depth of what you're doing, the length of time you've done it. That is truly a shining example. There are many companies in this room that are doing very similar things, getting known actually for that commitment. But that is a result of intentional design and mutual respect. And it's both of those things. And so we have to realize, and I'm just going to get real, if that's okay, and that is that there is a power dynamic. When you're working in the social sector, there's a company or an institution with dollars or people, it could be a university, whatever it is, and the nonprofit who is literally on the ground making things happen, but has a lot coming at them and a lot of needs they're trying to meet. And so purposeful volunteering is our definition of it, is truly that listening and learning. I love it that Erin said that starting from that point and then letting those needs drive what the decisions that get made, but just recognizing, I think if we had more of the recognition of the power dynamic and building that mutual respect, I think we could make even more of an impact with the same investment that we're making. So we know that that can only happen when that infrastructure is in place to have local leadership around volunteering and service in every community. So that really creates that ecosystem where volunteering can thrive.
Erin, how do you?
Well, thank you for the compliment on Home Depot. We do everything you said, the mutual respect, we take very seriously. My team and I'm very proud of my team that we don't just write checks. We get in the trenches, we understand the problems, and we come alongside our partners to help figure out what the pain points are and how we can invest in new and innovative ways to solve old problems in different ways. And so we invest in the relationship, not just the outcomes. The outcomes are, of course, critically important, but how you get there is equally important. And so we spend a lot of time trying to connect the dots on shared challenges. An example is in skilled trades, construction skilled trades. It's getting to be more and more of a crowded space. There's a lot of people, trying to influence that in their own ways. And so we brought all of our partners together and said, okay, it's been a couple years. What's the problems you're facing now and how can we uniquely help? Who's good at what in this room? And let's make sure we're focusing people on the right things. And then making sure that we're having honest dialogue and flexible support, I think is important as well. A good example recently with the federal funding changes, we'll just say, last year that made it difficult on a lot of people. We pulled our veteran housing partners, the CEOs, on a call together just to say, I was wanting to learn, hey, what are you guys experiencing? What's going on? And it really turned into almost like a couch therapy session, because what we didn't realize is the anxiety and the level of angst that those CEOs were going through. And so just understanding like how we can help connect the dots and provide support in new and different ways, I think makes it different. And so it's not transactional. We really try to make sure we're doing true collaboration. And just one quick point, we're talking about, Points of Light's huge, Home Depot's huge, but anybody in this room can do any of this on the local level. Take the framework and apply it. You don't have to have 2,000 stores. You don't have to have a million, partnering with a million managers. You can take the same framework. It's how we started. So you can do it and grow.
So at Bonterra, where I work as a social impact technology company, and we have been focusing on that and helping companies transform their volunteerism program to scale and with infrastructure and other services and resources. And when I look ahead, there are various bright spots that I've been looking at in terms of social impact and where we're headed. What is one thing you are seeing right now in your work and in your communities that tells you we're moving in the right direction?
Gosh, that's hard to choose. So I'm a Georgia Tech engineer. I'm actually born and raised here in Atlanta. I'm one of the few. So I always go back to data. I am a data person. And so what I'm seeing in the data is giving us promise. When we started working on veteran homelessness in 2011, it was at a peak, critical time. And since then, it's dropped by 50%. Now, what the data would also tell us is that 3 million still live in inadequate housing. So we're now changing our strategy to focus on critical home repairs for aging and things like that. So there's still work to do. Skilled trades, same thing. It's now less than about 6% of young people are interested in a career in the trades, which is still way too small, but it was 3%. So I'm encouraged where we're going in the data, but know that we still have a long way to go.
Well, thanks for, the same question. I would say, it's funny you bring up data. I would say a very similar thing to me is about volunteering is, it is a challenging time for local communities, for local nonprofits. It really is. And some of the data can be very scary about young people, what they're facing, and what we talked about, what I said earlier about 50% of young people under 30 not even feeling close to their neighbor or like they know someone in their neighborhood. And these are challenges, but what gives me hope is all that I see in the data around volunteering and service and that it works. It is accessible. You said that, Erin. Every one of us can make a difference either by ourselves, even with just the people in your family, helping them find ways to serve. Where you influence, finding those ways to serve. We know volunteering works, not just for what it does for me as an individual when I serve and what it does to me, my brain and my heart, But it uplifts my community, it meets the needs, and when we do it together, it changes the community. And that is a triple bottom line that you don't find with many things. This is nonpartisan, this is a lever that we as a country, we can still pull this lever. We can serve each other. And so volunteering, we believe volunteering changes everything. And we can do it, and it will help us meet this moment.
You're spot on, Jennifer. And what gives me hope is that the future of social impact won't be defined by short-term initiatives handed to communities. It will be defined by sustained commitment, sustained volunteerism, built with the people who know their communities the best. And that's something that everyone in this room has the power to build. Sustained action in your community that collectively can become a national movement. Thank you.